So I just finished season 4 of Outer Banks, and what happened?
I mean, what happened?
Like, what was that, bro? Let's rewind the clock back to 2020. A tragic event happened and the world went into lockdown. But since everyone was inside for a couple months, it just so happened to be the perfect time to release a show, especially on Netflix. Many shows came out in this time, but one of them had all of the makings of a teen classic. This show was Outer Banks. Now, I didn't know the Outer Banks was like a real place, but finding that out was pretty cool. The show followed 4 key characters, no pun intended. John B, the main character, Pope, the smart one, JJ, the crazy one, and Kiara, or Key, the heart of the group. Initially, the show did extremely well, garnering a strong fan base almost instantly. All the stars of the show were completely unknown before the show, so they pretty much all got their big break due to Outer Banks, amassing thousands of followers and probably thousands of dollars. But the thumbnail of this video is about how to ruin a show. And this video is about why Outer Banks was so popular. Keyword was. What the hell happened, man? Well, in this video, we'll talk about why I think Outer Banks became so popular and why it has fallen off so hard in such a short space of time. I feel like ever since the explosion of the Marvel Universe and shows like Game of Thrones, Hollywood has had a problem. Something I'll call the Marvel expansion problem. Basically, before Marvel took over the world, we just made movies and TV shows. Movies would often only have 1, 2, or maybe 3 installments, meaning if the film did well, there would be a sequel, and maybe a third film to end it off. This is why the 2000s and the early 2010s had so many great trilogies, like The Lord of the Rings, the Spider-Man trilogy, the Dark Knight trilogy, and the Pirates of the Caribbean trilogy. And I know there are more than 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, but those last 2 don't count, okay? They don't count. And any real Pirates fan would agree with me. But then, the Marvel Universe bloomed into existence, and fans were treated with 1, 2, 3, 10 movies that were all interlinked and part of the same huge story. TV shows and spin-offs of the universe were created, and even ad campaigns as well. And of course, it made everyone involved really rich. Now, I'm a huge fan of Marvel. In fact, I actually watched the first Avengers movie and Endgame on their premieres, so I loved all of this. Although now, besides Spider-Man, Marvel has kind of dropped the ball. So since that happened, you can clearly see how TV shows and film franchises nowadays are trying to blatantly recreate what Marvel had. Instead of making a film or a TV show and putting your all into it, studios will make a movie, hope that it does well, and immediately create spin-offs, sequels, and even animated shows of the original source material. To top it all off, fans are bombarded with flashy marketing campaigns, shows and films that are filled with big name stars in the hopes of them doing better, and it all just feels like a DJ Khaled album. Lots of star power, but no substance. Hollywood desperately needed a show with low stakes, low effort that felt organic and natural. Something that would make us nostalgic for the drama shows of old. Enter Outer Banks.
These are my friends.
They don't pay you enough, bro.
The Pogues. That's us.
When you really think about it, bro, there's nothing about Outer Banks that is inherently new or innovative. The show low-key plays on our love for classic tropes. The Pogues versus the Kooks, the rich versus the poor. John B and Sarah, the Romeo and Juliet situation where we're from rival groups but we fall in love with one another. The typical group of friends where you have the smart one, the crazy one, the main one, and the empathetic and loving one. A bunch of rebellious teens in a small town getting up to no good, driving their parents crazy, and having a blast while doing it all. This isn't something that we've never seen before, but it's just been so long since we've seen it that it feels so new. That nostalgia feels brand new. Outer Banks ticked off all of the boxes of what a teen classic show is supposed to be like. Simple, low budget, and fun, but filled with enough spice and drama to keep you coming back for more. This combined with the lengthy episodes made it the perfect coming of age story for teenagers and the perfect comfort show for adults. As I said before, The show follows John B and his friends as they consistently find themselves on quests to find treasure. If you think about it, and I might be reaching here, but for everyone who grew up in the 2000s, Outer Banks would low-key have been a hit on Nickelodeon or maybe Disney XD. I mean, they would have had to tone it down a little bit, but for the most part, it could work. Well, yeah, now I'm reaching. It wouldn't have worked. But you get my point. When it comes to people in their teen years right now, this is the show. So how did it all go wrong? At first, when I watched season 4, I thought that Outer Banks had fallen victim to the Marvel expansion problem. Now that the show is super successful, they're trying to raise the stakes and up the ante. But I was wrong. The reason why it fell off is much worse. Much worse. Apparently, well, this is low-key facts now, but apparently, the actor who plays JJ, whose real name is Rudy Pankow, asked to be let off the show at the start of season 4. Basically, Rudy had started dating this girl, who was the assistant of the creator of Outer Banks, and he'd been dating her for a while now. Remember that when they first started working on the show, it was during 2020, so the actors and crew were all living together and got super close. I mean, this was bound to happen. This girl that Rudy is dating, Elaine, didn't like the on-screen relationship that Rudy had with Madison Bailey, who is the actress that plays Kiara. To make matters worse, Madison Bailey was also in a relationship, and her girlfriend didn't like Rudy either. Finally, to make matters even worse, fans had been shipping JJ and Kiara in a relationship for a long time. This obviously put a strain on the relationships that these two actors were in. In fact, it got so bad that there are actually scenes in season 4 where JJ and Kiara are on screen, but Rudy has a body double in place for the more intimate scenes. Imagine having a stunt double for cuddles and hugs. All of this created a pretty bad environment on set, and Rudy and Madison went from being close friends to being silent enemies. Eventually, everything came to a close when Rudy basically couldn't take it anymore and asked to be killed off the show. Of course, the writers didn't want this, since JJ is a key character in the show. And high-key, in season 4 of Outer Banks, JJ was basically the main character too, but the man had made up his mind. He had chosen Snow Bunny Nyash over his acting career, which was only beginning to take off. All of this is extremely childish in my opinion. I mean, these two got their big break off of the show, and they're already acting Hollywood and being drama queens. The irony is that Madison is a whole lesbian, so why would there be a worry of Rudy sliding in? On top of that, Outer Banks is like a PG-13 show. These guys are kissing each other on screen and hugging. It's not like they're having passionate, intense sex scenes or anything like that. It's super innocent. Bro, if you really think about it, Outer Banks could have easily gone on for 6 seasons. Honestly, they could have pushed for 8, and even though those last 2 would probably have been trash, we would have still watched because at that point, we would have been riding with them for so long. Now apparently season 5 will be the last season. The plot is an absolute mess. JJ is dead, the gang is stuck in Morocco with no money or resources, and now they're about to go on some revenge mission. Like bro, this is Outer Banks, this isn't Taken. To top it all off, Sarah is pregnant. So what, she's just gonna be dealing with the baby bump while the Pogues are off trying to settle a vendetta? Like come on bro, they've ruined it. They've absolutely ruined it. And now that JJ is gone, who is Kiara gonna couple up with? Rafe? Honestly man, Hollywood just keeps doing this. It's like every time they've got a good thing going, they just have to go and mess it up.